Hey, what's going on, guys? Mark Luckenbaugh here. Thanks a lot for joining us. I'm here with my good friend and peer in the lead gen space, David Longacre. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, Mark? Thanks for having me on, man.
Oh, absolutely, man. You're doing incredible stuff in the space, and I know we've talked a lot and shared strategies over time, and I just thought it would be good for you to jump on and my audience to really get an idea of what you're doing and where a lot of your success came from. So yeah, guys, it's just going to be a little fireside chat. I'm going to shoot some questions at David. It's just part of a little micro series. We're going to be doing a few videos he was nice enough to share with us. So um, David and Nate are making a comprehensive lead generation course. I think a lot of that came just out of him sharing tidbits of his knowledge and his experiences in the lead gen space, and people just asking questions about it and him sharing, and it was kind of demanded, to say the least. So teamed up with Nate. They're both incredible guys in their own thing, and in their own pieces of lead gen. So yeah, I mean, that's really cool. You have that coming, David. Anything I missed on that, or maybe you want to go over a couple of things you're going to cover in that?
Yeah. I saw the big lead generation model be put out there probably about 5-6 years ago, and then really didn't jump on until about maybe 3-4 years ago. And I just saw over the years of attempting lead generation and failing at different models, and starting out with the agency model and kind of going into the lead generation because I saw it so attractive, and there was so much information out there that was kind of put out that was just misinformation, pretty much. Just that lead generation is real passive in that. And so everybody that was hopping onto that lead generation model and kind of thought it was a great idea, and me included, kind of going down that road and figuring out a lot about the lead generation model, and then just figuring out the different failures and the positive formats about it. And that's when I really kind of fell in love with the whole model. And going down that was it was really very informing, and finding out a lot of different information about how it works and how it doesn't work, and kind of putting a lot of the misinformation to the side and finding out how it works for me. And that's when I really started sharing a lot of tips, because I started getting some wins with it. And that is when I really figured out that I wanted to go move forward and put a course out there. So
Yeah, very cool, man. And I share that sentiment. I used to do a lot of rank and rent. And then you're correct. There was there was kind of this notion put out that, PPL or pay per lead, or what have you, lead gen and selling the leads, that it was passive. And I actually got hit like, oh man, it hit me like a ton of bricks. A few years ago, it actually came from a site, Chaz from Web20 ranked. And,
mm-hmm.
We had a different model in mind for it, but he ranked it, and it was generating, it still does actually, like 100 calls per week. And I started to think, I was like, man, the logistics of managing 100 calls per week, and that's just one site, and you're billing per lead, extrapolate that across managing 10, 20, 50 sites. It's like, that's not passive. You need teams, or you need technology in there to really parse through that, and to manage it and stuff. So I'm in the same boat as you. I came to that I came to that same conclusion. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, maybe if I'll jump in, I know I know you're a humble guy. You're a really nice guy. Anyone that knows you knows you're chill, you're humble. But let me big you up a little bit, because it really is true. I think what you did on the side of lead gen, or even just client work, like what you've done is tackled it from a sales perspective. You know how to generate the leads. You have that system down, and I think your most of your success, correct me if I'm wrong, comes from the fact that you also created systems for the sales, and you're scaling. Dude, every time I talk to you, it's hard to even get a minute with you, because you're like, oh man, my sales guys brought on like 4 more deals in the past 2 days. So it's like,
yeah.
like if anything, and I mean, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but like, bosses don't really discuss numbers, but I know you're doing really well. And I think a lot of that could be, attributed to the fact that you really cracked the code on the sales. So other than that, maybe just a couple things about you. And, if I'm wrong about your superpower, correct me. But that's kind of how I know David. He's a great guy. I've known him for, we got to meet in Vegas, known him for years, and really cracked the code on some cool lead gen stuff. So that's my intro for you. If you want to fill in any holes, please do.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah,
Sure.
no, actually, you're correct. I came from a sales background, and so I started sales probably about 10 years ago, and it wasn't my true superpower at the beginning. And I think it's one of those skills that you just have to apply and you learn. And I don't necessarily think that you are born with it or without it. I think you just acquire that skill through practice and consistency and failure, of course. So that was it for me, man. It was just learning that process, and then combining my love and skills with computers. I started maybe about 8 years ago in the just web industry. Developed a web development company, started that, and that's when I really was just a solopreneur, picking up the phone, just really trying to build a business there. And I was getting my leads off of Craigslist. I was calling and selling people on my web development services, and that's when I really just fell in love with sales all around and found out that I was pretty good at talking on the phone, and it was just mainly desperate need out of building a business, building financial some stability for myself, and being an entrepreneur, kind of going that route. So started the web development industry, and then I transitioned into the SEO world, and figuring out marketing, mainly just because I had clients asking me for some SEO on top of web design, and kind of went down that route. And then I liked the client model all around. It was fun selling people and building the business in that route. But then I found out lead generation, like I said, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and then tried a couple of different models in that sense, and had some failures, and then kind of pushed it to the side a bit and didn't know if it was the correct model, just because I felt like it was pretty similar. There was a lot of misinformation out of there. And when I tried it, I absolutely failed on it, just taking that information and kind of like pushing it forward. And it wasn't really until about the last 3 years of, pushing the notions to the side, what the information was put out there, and then just really kind of developing my own system for this. And that's when the sales system really has been in play. And in the last year and a half, I've grown the most, just because I kind of put my hyper focus into it, and really went for that full-on sales system. If I knew I wanted to scale this, like I did with my SEO, my web development, and there was misinformation that it was passive out there, but it can be more passive than my other businesses that I had, and it has been. But it was about building the systems and the teams in play, and that's really when it scaled. And like you said, yeah, like we've been closing a lot of partners in the last couple months. This year has been a huge growth so far. So, and it was mainly just because I had the systems and sales systems in play. Therefore, I wanted to create the course and put it out there that this is actually what works. I'm living proof of it. I don't have a lot of time on my hands just because I'm so integrated in the system, but I really am enjoying this so far and seeing how big I can grow with it. So,
yeah, and I think just to throw in there, man, I appreciate you're just a genuine dude. I think everyone's gonna just see that. You know what I mean? Just hearing you speak, and it's good to see people that, I think you said something really cool, and it was like, I did fail at first, and like failures are just a part of the learning process, right? Like it's, and then just the fact that you come on and you're saying, hey, I am a part of the system, I'm busy and stuff, but like you also do really well for yourself, and I think a lot of these gurus and stuff push the idea that, hey, all you need to do is buy my stuff and click. You know what I mean? It's going to click and you're just going to start banking.
Yeah.
And, and there's nothing further from the truth. But, once you spend the time, like if for anyone who would jump on, once you spend the time putting David's system into place and dealing with the ups and downs of that, I mean, you're correct. You're living proof that that's an efficient way to make a bunch of money. So, no, I love it, man.
Yeah, I think that was really the jumping point too, is kind of just jumping in, know you're going to fail, and then having that kind of long-term longevity thinking about where you want it to go and grow with your scaling system. And it can be very profitable very quickly, but you kind of have to just fully focus on that. So
yeah, for sure. That makes a ton of sense, man. It's like with anything. If you give something 10% of your effort, you can't expect it to be 80% of your revenue or 100% of your revenue. I mean, it's such a just a false narrative, that spreads. But yeah. So I mean, next thing I want to talk about is you do come from an agency background, doing website builds and selling SEO services to companies, and now you're fully into lead gen. I'm still a big client SEO fan. I'm so torn, man. I hate doing these like versus conversations because, I get around, man. I try to diversify as much as possible. Sometimes it shoots me in the foot, but
right.
I love my client stuff. But I mean, I'm crazy. I'm crazy enough about lead gen where we built Jensen, which was a monster, just to help manage the logistics of the lead flow and all of that stuff. So I'm also a huge fan of lead gen, but what are some of the important differences? I know that's a good talking point for this conversation. Like, what were some of the best benefits for you moving away from the client model and into lead gen full time?
Yeah, and I think this is one of the main points of the positive of what the information was put out there, and the reason why I jumped on it. And there was some information out there that was put out that it was that just this completely, massive thing that you can build, and it's so passive. And that wasn't the exact truth. It can be very passive, but really the main point that I wanted to move over to lead generation model was simply that you do own that asset. And so you are technically, it really wasn't that much difference. I felt like you're still working with a client, partner, whatever you want to call it. You're still working with a person, right? Like a business owner. So therefore, you are still either working for them. It doesn't really matter if you have a contract or an agreement or how you get paid. Yeah. It's the same kind of concept. You're still dealing with a business owner. And when you're dealing with a business owner, no matter what, you're still having to have those discussions and build that trust, talk about pricing factors, all that kind of different stuff. But that was the main bonus for me, was with the lead generation model. I got to own that asset, and that I technically kind of didn't work for that client. And so that was the big difference for me and why I jumped over. I still have client SEO clients as well. And I didn't really necessarily like that. It was just that I wanted to own an asset that I can own long-term. If that client partner ever did fall off, I can easily go and generate a new partner and keep that going. Whereas all of that work that I did build, whether it be on the AdWords side or the SEO side, yes, they are paying for it. Yes, it's technically theirs, but I am the one with the actual skill of knowing how to go ahead and rank a website, and that's a very valuable skill. And then also knowing how to monetize that in a correct way, with you owning that asset and then having the confidence to know that that is your asset and that you can sell to anybody and everybody. But it is kind of a mutual partnership, which I found out is you're still working with that client partner, and it becomes a mutual partnership to where you obviously need them to pick up their phone, you need them to work their system. But when you can generate traffic, you become a very, very valuable asset, whether it be through AdWords or Facebook ads or SEO in general. You become an overall asset, and you do differentiate yourself just from an SEO agency. So that was the big difference that I saw, is that it kind of just gave me a huge confidence, man, like really knowing my skills were more of an asset and not just a monthly management fee,
Yeah, dude, that's the best answer in my opinion you could have given, and I completely agree. I have nothing to add to that. That's the most beautiful part of doing the lead gen is you have an asset, a valuable asset. And I mean, 100% agree. A big thing real quick, I've been doing client SEO a long time, and it's a constant learning experience. Well, anything is, but what I mean is, in the infancy of my career doing SEO, it was you rank the client, and then like that's where your most profitable months come in, right? You start
Right.
dialing back the budget, and we've had so many clients in our early existence be like, "Oh well, what are you still doing? We're done," and fire us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like that happened. Oh man, if I even had half of that money back, I mean, I'd be a lot. You know what I mean? I'd have a lot more money. Like it was huge amounts of clients. So now, I'm a couple years into it, and you have to figure out a system. Okay, well, how do we keep people engaged and on board? And it
Hmm.
seems like you're constantly developing systems and I say products as in like a productized service. So services and little value adds you can do to keep these clients on board. At the end of the day, it's a great gig. But you're right. At any given moment, they can say, "Oh, you know what? My brother-in-law, he started doing SEO, and he's going to take it over for us for free." And and you can't articulate the difference in value. Yeah, like dumb stuff like that. Then
Yep.
yeah, with lead gen, it's like, hey, the leads aren't, something's not working out. That's cool. Give me a call if you ever change your mind. I'm gonna I'm gonna go knock on your competitors' doors, and I'll have these resold within a day or two at max. And
Yeah, and it works, man. That scarcity mindset too, and we also do exact same concept as we've had guys come back and say, hey, didn't work with you. They go their route, they go their system, and then we've had guys come back 4 or 6 months later and say, your system was way better, and we want to go with you guys again. So
very cool.
yeah,
Yeah. And when you control it, you control it. Hey, if you ever need to create liquidity, I mean, you can sell the asset, the monetized asset. Like there's a lot of power you have when, I mean, you, not to sound redundant, have the power, right? It's yours. So
yep, yeah.
So yeah, this is always one of my favorites because I always like to get creative. I like to always try to think outside the box. Like how can I squeeze another nickel out of something, or how can I even work less? And even if I make a little less, like where's my efficiency levels at? What's the best lead generation model you have adopted, if you will?
Yeah, so I've tried quite a bit actually over the last 4 years. I started off with the rank and rent as my skills were mainly just SEO skills from the start. So started off with the rank and rent model, and when you're generating and you're kind of doing the building model, and you want to acquire that partner just to kind of take on the few leads that you're getting, those leads are very few in between. And so I started the rank and rent model, and it's really good. Once you have that number one and it's up there and it's generating leads, and you can offer those leads cheaper than they're getting them via AdWords or other lead generation models, that's why I see rank and rent really working, and it does become that asset that you own, and you definitely, like you said, you can definitely sell that as a very profitable asset, just like you could in an affiliate website or e-commerce website or anything like that. So I've tried the rank and rent. I've also tried like a hybrid model where I have sold it. I transitioned from an AdWords monthly management to a just package deal. How much you get a certain amount of leads in the certain amount of time. Like you get 40 leads a week, or 120 leads a month, something like that. So I've tried that model, and then my favorite model is just to charge pay per lead. So just every single lead is a fixed number, and we kind of agree on how many leads that they'll get on a weekly basis, and then we just do many different traffic channels and put it all together, and then just deliver those amount of leads within a week. And so pay per lead for me has been more profitable. With the rank and rent model, I've kind of been scaled back of how many leads it can produce. With I'm doing just SEO, if it was just a hybrid model where I'm kind of limited on the numbers, the package number that we agreed on, where if it's just pay per lead and we agree that they can take on as many leads as we can deliver to them, and that's where we really found out our major wins was finding those clients, those partners that were able to grow and scale, and we were to grow and scale with them, because our marketing system starts off with a certain amount of leads, and then we'll grow over a 2 to 3 month time with them and help them out with that lead generation. Like that pay per lead model has just really, really grown and scaled. And that's where it becomes very passive, and you also make your biggest amount of margin there. So.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. So just to add to this, something I know, ever since I know Rohan put that post on Reddit about starting his own maid service and whatnot, where you go from lead gen and then you kind of, you own the asset already, so you might as well, test out having your own contractors and stuff. So we tested this twice so far. And when I say tested twice, I mean like at decent scale, where we actually got someone involved, jobs got done. First time failed terribly, which I actually shared at the LCT event we were all at.
Yeah.
I actually shared that, man. Dude, we cranked $30K in the first month of being open and had to refund a majority of it. Like it was a complete mess. The guy, so we learned a couple of things, like don't have, technical, don't do something too technical if you don't know anyone that can do it. Like this was in the appliance repair niche, and that's something where you need a very specific micro niche type person, a very specific skill set. We tried it again here locally, and we launched a series of little companies under one umbrella, and that's actually doing pretty well. But where we got the advantage, I actually have a blog post about that if anyone's interested. It's on Web 20. I go through the whole initial thing of, just exactly what we went through, down to buying the truck and trailer and like getting everything ready. And now that's actually ran by a part equity holder and a family member. We have a couple employees, and it's going pretty good. Like it's cool. Is it a big breadwinner? No. Like could it be? Yeah, perhaps. I mean, Rohan's doing. Last time I heard, Maids in Black was doing like $3.5 million a year. I mean, that's definitely a business.
Yep.
But a lot of challenges. I know, and I see people talk about that once in a while in LCT. And listen, it's fun. Like I did it more out of fun. We gave a couple family members jobs. It's fun. I got some work at my house done at at cost, which was beautiful. But at the end of the day, man, I'm rolling with you on that one too. Like the best model is, I think exactly what you went over. I always encourage people to have fun, be creative, but I would never recommend someone to be like, hey, I'm going to do something where I own the asset and have someone manage contractors on their first go around, or even profit splits and stuff on their first go around. It can get, you want to be able to have the capital and the resources to get attorneys involved and CPAs involved and looking at the books and tracking systems. And it's, I agree with you, man. The scalability in the big bucks, and especially at first, it's going to come with exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that's what you really are looking for, which is a cash flow, that's what I was looking for, to really be able to have a cash flow heavy business to reinvest into other assets that I'm building, or reinvest into other team members into that. Really, for you to have a lot of cash flow, you can't be heavy into a business and so much into it. And everybody sees that kind of, that model where they see a problem and then they try to create a solution. But in reality, if you just figure out what that problem is, with finding the right partners, which was that was key, just the qualification process, which is so key into this lead generation model. Finding that really, really will help you just scale in that direction. Whereas if you just wanted to go and take the calls for yourself and sub that out, you're going to create different problems no matter what. So yes, you're solving one problem by kind of cutting them out and subcontracting that way, but you're going to create a lot of additional problems. And in my eyes and in my way, I never saw that as a super scalable, because all I need to do is send leads, acquire a partner that can handle these leads, and I'm on to the next city over and over and over again. So.
Agreed. Yep, you lose the scalability when you create literally another business full of problems. Very well said, man. So that leads us right into this beautifully. I have an opinion on this too. I'm sure it's going to match yours, but what's the potential, man? what's the scale potential? Maybe put it in maybe a little bit more simpler terms. Like if people really work their ass off to implement your systems and, your acquisition systems and whatnot, and how you guys are showing some of the rapid like lead gen strategies and stuff, like what's the download, man? How fast can you really scale, and what's the potential, you think?
Yeah, and so a lot of it, it does come down to having the right mindset, 100% being in. But with our model, man, it's so damn quick. Like with my sales model, it's heavy into the sales portion of it, whether it be cold calling or emailing and doing the follow-up processes and qualifying. But within 90 days, man, you can have your niche-ready website. You can be calling over and over within the first 30 days. You're going to kind of gain your confidence, whether if you're already have in the SEO world, or if you're in the AdWords world, or if you're just starting out and you already have a sales guy, or you become the sales guy. No matter what, this system is really, really easy to implement and say, okay, this is actually what works. And within 90 days, you could be doing some really, really big numbers. I mean, right now we're pulling in about 8 to 9 new partners a month, and this is our system really just perfecting itself over a good amount of time. And now it's kind of time to hire as many sales guys as I possibly can and kind of grow and scale that. But if you're just starting out, whether you're just your own salesperson, if you have a small agency, whether if you have a big agency and you have 3 sales guys ready to knock on this lead generation door, you can go down and scale very, very quickly, where you could be closing 4 to 5 partners, and profit for each partner is $4 to $5 grand for different certain niches. But yeah, you could get to the 10K a month mark, no problem, within about 90 days easily.
I love it. Something to add to this too is I completely agree. In addition to that, if you find the right partners now, and to be honest, this is so much easier than closing a whale SEO client, where you walk into even $100 million a year business or several $100 million a year business, and you try to start pitching them these productized services like SEO or PPC, chances are they have that. I mean, it's not even a chances are thing. They're already going to have that, sometimes in-house, sometimes not. But I can tell you for certain, because I'm involved in multiple deals right now where these guys have marketing agencies. These guys are actively marketing, and they're also actively engaged in lead gen deals with us, and they're larger companies. Now, what they do, just to be transparent, if they pull the lead in, they have really good attribution set up. It's another beautiful thing about working with whale clients. They're going to know the numbers better than you ever will. They're going to know their numbers. They're going to have all that stuff optimized and refined. If you generate a dupe lead, they're not going to pay out for it. But I mean, if you look at what marketing they have in play and you say, man, they're always going to be missing something. They might be targeting a bunch of big cities that they operate in. They might miss the millions and millions of people in those suburbs they're not actively marketing to. And out of that, I mean, you can create tens of thousands of dollars a month off of one client, generating leads in little areas that their big agencies are missing. It's just oversight. They're going for the gusto. You know what I mean? They want to show as many leads as possible for their client. They might not be in some of those smaller areas. They might not be whatever. And that was more for, speaking like AdWords, like running paid ads, but organically as well. So, landing whale clients with a PPL model is so much easier than landing. And I mean, I've written up proposals to Hermes, the luxury fashion brand. I've written proposals for SEO for just gigantic companies. We've done work for household brand names, like cereal companies you would know of. We've done all kinds of work around, and I can tell you, I'm not a whale slayer. I'm not. Like, I don't just constantly bring down whale clients. I don't want to bullshit you guys and act like I do. But with anytime I've pitched PPL on the whale side, it's always a much, much easier conversation. And guys, don't be scared. You can pull down the biggest X company, whatever niche you want, the biggest niche company in the country, or one of their top competitors with you know, a lot more ease than you would ever sell these guys a monthly retainer for some
100%.
pay and pray activity, which is what I call still a big client SEO guy. I'm not passionate, right? It makes me plenty of money, but at the end of the day, like what a lot of people sell is pay and pray. And if you can't produce results right away, that's how these companies are going to look at you. Hey, we're already spending 5 figures a month on digital marketing companies. Why should we pay and pray with you as well? Oh, you want to buy leads? Completely different story. So, you know, I know that might be a little heavier on the revenue side, but all right, lead generation myths. This is an interesting one. Can you dispel any common lead gen myths that you've heard?
Yeah, quite a few actually. So the first one is just really is the passive one. We've already kind of went over that one, but again, it is not as passive as people have put out there. And I have really went through a lot of failures thinking that it was this really, really passive model and that I can just go into it and put it all in there. But it can be if you get one lead generation client and you let it roll, but you obviously want more than one or even 5, as did I. And I didn't want to go down the big in-house agency route. I wanted to really just scale with my team that I had and grow a couple of other team members and sales guys and AdWord camp managers and all that kind of good stuff. But being that passive model is really, it has passive potential, I would say a little bit more than client SEO model. But again, you're still dealing with a client partner. So that's never a passive thing. It's not just this, oh, we're getting leads and everything is fine and dandy. Don't get me wrong. I do have clients or partners that I've never heard from in the 9 months that they've been on. That's a very few in between. You're still dealing with a business or a partner, and that person is going to have problems arise with their own business. And therefore, you being the lead generation guy, you're going to hear about it first because they are paying for your leads on a monthly basis. So that was one of the big ones. And then other myths that I've kind of discovered was that this would be really like an easy format that I could just build and kind of forget. And it's kind of the same thing as the passive. But I have a dedicated sales manager now that dedicates his time to onboarding people and helping people out and going through that whole client partner nurturing process. And it still extends for the first month all the way down to the next 6 months and doing that lead generation process and getting them on board. And then we have partners that drop off as well. And so then you have to go and acquire a new partner. Luckily, we have a system in play to, easily, or we already have them in our CRM system that maybe they had potential or they were interested at the start of it. So there's that. And then, let me think of any other lead generation mess. I think there's another one that's been out there that the rank and rent is the easier or the more, I don't know if it's more profitable. That I've kind of heard that's just the easier one for people to get in. And in my opinion, I've been able to generate leads within 72 hours via AdWords and paid advertising. And that to me allows me, it's a pay-per-performance, right? So if I'm able to generate leads very, very quickly, that gives me some confidence. It gives them some confidence that we are able to do what we say we are very quickly. So the rank and rent mon, and then the call only ads converting better and only working better. I've heard that kind of, we've done a lot of testing with that, and that's not always the case. And a lot of the times it's not the case at all in certain niches. So any lead generation myths you've kind of heard?
The biggest one I have, and I agree with that last one a lot. I know where that one came from.
Yeah.
But I mean, you really have to have the data on the other side, and not even lead gen speaking. I'm fortunate enough to be a partner in agencies that have a robust AdWords side to them. that run millions a year in paid AdWords, and it's like I'm just privy to a little bit more data than probably the average Joe that repeats that. So I agree with you that you really need to check out what what having a lander and stuff can do as far as volume and the cost per lead. A big one is a lot of people see that Home Advisor or someone pays a complete pathetic payout, $5 a lead, $1 per lead. They barely ever pay out. And then a lot of people that do lead gen treated it, or they treated it a lot like an affiliate network, and they sold to, not trying to bash Ring Partner or anything. It's the first one that popped to my head, or maybe not Ring Partner, but we just had a guy that came to us, and our guy out in Cali is actually selling the leads for him. And he was going through Ring, and he was sending these leads to, he was Ring Partner. I can't remember, to be honest, but some affiliate pay-per-call network, and they didn't pay him out for months. And a lot of people hear horror stories like that coming from different, if you come from LCT, you're going to hear a lot of different opinion. A lot of people come from, Black Hat world, or, different forums and different areas of the internet where local isn't the main topic of discussion. So they just hear what they hear from other affiliate guys that tried some pay-per-call and stuff like that. And people think it's just this huge rush to the bottom, and this thing where it's a dirty industry where you're screwing lead people over, and you're, sending leads to 10 different people that hit a number or hit a form. And I mean, there's plenty of that happens. I mean, again, if you look at Home Advisor and stuff, I mean, those leads get passed around like a freaking peace pipe.
Yeah, they do.
but you don't have to do that. There's an entire other world, and I know you reside in that world, and I do too, and Nate does, and it's the exclusive lead where you don't have to race to the bottom, and you can go in with prices much more expensive than Home Advisor or, these other, little cheap lead distributors, because you have that leverage, you have that power in the negotiation to say, look, you're the only one getting it. People are going to look for multiple estimates anyway. Do you want it going to 5 different companies, and then the person already filled 2 different lead gen forms out? I mean, I don't know if you, we reverse engineered funnels, like lead gen funnels before, and tried to figure out where big sites route their leads, overflow leads to. We found some cool stuff. But just going through those, I mean, dude, you can fill out a form and a couple forms in an evening for like a construction job. And I mean a couple, like 2-3 forms. And I mean, you can get a barrage of like 15, 20 people blowing up your phone and inbox.
Oh, yeah.
Within a few hours. I mean, it's like, dude, how many times did this lead get sold? What is going on here? So you don't have to do that. That isn't really what, that's not the lead gen we talk about. That's a different model to what we do.
No, yeah, big time. And I see that kind of myth of the whole passive being put around there, and they thinking that that this is more passive, and that you're going to make your decent amount of money, and that you don't ever have to talk to anybody. And I'm like, man, that the money is in selling the lead directly to the partner, and you creating that partnership with them. And they literally will be paying double or triple what they pay on Home Advisor just to get those exclusive leads, because like you said, it's getting passed around 12 to 15 different partners. Well, they know that they're paying for that lead. Therefore, they're going to be hammering that lead multiple times. So as they know they're competing with their competitors, and they hate competing with their competitors. So therefore, when you come in as this godsend, and you're telling them that we can give you an exclusive leads for a higher price, but this is a higher conversion on your part, oh man, they eat that up. They love it. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. So this is always Tanish or not Tanish? That is the question. Get my Shakespearean flow down. So yeah, I mean, what's how, I know you niche down. See, it's tough. I have to formulate this question because I already know a few of the answers that other people don't. I'm not going to give your niches away, by the way. It's like, dude, I already saw you thinking like, Mark, what are you doing here, man? Like, come on, bro. But no, you do have some cool niches. You do. It's really cool. And I have to believe that probably helped play a big part of your success. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, big time. And I've been in both parts actually. I started with a local agency, and so that was my niche, was just the local market, anybody and everybody who was around here. And I saw my hand in the cookie jar trying to take pieces of the puzzle and trying to learn different generation models and what works for one business and what works for a different. And so obviously I niched down because I failed miserably. And I do know that there's agencies out there that it works for them. And they have dedicated account managers just to learn a new niche and identify that landing page. But in long run, I still see those agencies kind of going after, if they've already built something, they know how to replicate it in that system. So therefore, obviously, I niched down quite a long time ago, not even just with the lead generation, but the SEO client world. I started with just one niche and really was able to scale with that. Same thing with the lead generation. Being able to replicate what whether if you're going the organic route and you are going the rank and rent route, you can easily build a database of PBNs or local links that you can acquire for a certain relevant niche, and Google loves the relevance in that realm, and so does the advertising model, the paid advertising. You can easily grab that model of your landing page, your AdWords, all that stuff that we do, and then copy and paste and replicate that. And then also the sales side of it, when you go to a new prospect and you tell them that you have already A, B, and C in different cities, and these guys are very similar to your model, your business size, your everything, it makes them feel very, very, very comfortable. So that in all reality makes scaling 100 times more easier when you can copy and paste on this side, when you already have links and relevancy on this side, and then you can go to that prospect with some major confidence saying, I have this guy, or that it just, hey, maybe I'm in the beginning of the stages and I'm just, I already know your niche because I've already had some success in it, or in any reality that you're going to have more success in the niche route than the non-niche for sure. So.
All right. So your main goal here is to not leave me with anything to say. That's fine. No, you're 100% right, man. Anytime you get comfortable in a niche, you're building resources and infrastructure for a specific niche. Everything's cheaper to deploy, faster to deploy. Your sales guys are going to know what they're selling. They're going to get more familiar. People handling your fulfillment are going to get more familiar. You can just more intelligently speak about it, market to the people in charge of it. I have nothing to add. I 1000% agree. And I've seen this happen in the niches that, I worked a lot more in over the years, and I've become, I don't want to say the expert, but I've become pretty competent when it comes to talking about, the specific area. We always joke like, oh man, if I just went to college for that, I could have my own office doing that, or my own practice or whatever, but it is true. You learn a lot about it. And then you can see sometimes, just the other day in LCT, someone asked a question about a niche. I'm like, man, I don't know shit about that niche.
Yeah.
like here's some general advice, but be careful, because I haven't spent a lot of time in that niche, and sometimes it shows.
Yep.
If you're an expert in it, you're going to see the holes in general advice. Oh, this one's really cool. This is my favorite. All right, we have a younger David. I'm going to say young David. You're still a young buck. We're all young men here. We're all just young bros having a good time. But a younger David, a more youthful David, man, he's starting out. He's grinding. He's struggling, hardworking. He's trying to kick ass, man. What do you tell him? A couple of things. Doesn't have to be three, but what do you tell him, man? What do you tell him? Like, come on, David. Come on, younger David. What's going to get you over the hump?
Yeah, and that was a big one. As far as my background being the sales, learning the sales portion a long time ago. Again, the stuff that we have already kind of covered, the niching down thing was, I didn't start when I just started lead generation. I didn't niche down. So if I was to start all over again, I would definitely pick one niche, or try maybe 2 to 3 niches, and then kind of go down those routes and start that. The next one, which I was taught, was to kind of fake it till you make it. you have the confidence type of thing. And really, you have to build confidence. And that's through kind of the mindset training that I have kind of gone through, and that you can kind of put it out there that you just know anything and everything about this niche, and that's not true. What you can do is really just, if you absolutely need to and you're just starting out, just work for free or work for whatever you can to get and pay your bills. And this is where I wish I would have, the beginner David would have been like, take your damn ego out of your mind, because it's going to do nothing but hurt you. And so with that is, you acquire one new partner or one new AdWords client, and you get them into the lead generation. I started out with just an AdWords client and then moved them over to the lead generation model at a later time. And that was really to identify all the problems and the solutions that I can come up with by asking them multiple questions to really identify that niche. So that was a big one. And then once you acquire that client and that partner, you're going to have that wins, and that's really where your confidence comes in, and your ego can kind of get a little bit bigger from that. But you can't just fake it till you make it. You gotta build some wins, man. You gotta build that success. You gotta build that confidence going into it. And then with an SEO guy, you already know your skills with that. You can talk about that. So figuring out what it is with your personal strength, right? So use that to your advantage, but don't be afraid to learn something else. I see so many people talk about, I'm not a sales guy, or I'm only an SEO guy, or I'm only this. And that was my benefit since I was a beginner, was always trying to try new things and being able to not be afraid of failure, which everybody is in the beginner. And there's nothing wrong with failure. Failure only is a problem that you face, but you're always going to come. There's not really any failure, because you're always going to come up with a solution, right? So that was my really, really beginner format, that if I can go back and crank myself on the head, man, and be like, this is how you need to look at life. In general, it's all about your mindset going into this, right? It's not just your technical skills that you need to have, because you can learn all that stuff. So.
Yeah, that's really solid, man. I appreciate you sharing that. And I love questions like that. They can start to get almost like philosophical. You know? All right. This is really solid too. I think people can get a lot out of this. So like deal close walkthrough, and listen, I understand, man. We're not expecting you to cover everything at the most granular level you did in your course, obviously, and give people all of the points that they need. But what does that journey look like? Or what's, even if you don't want to go travel through the whole journey with us, maybe even a key point or two that you've optimized to make the journey better, or whatever, man. It's just freestyle it. You know what I mean? But anything on closing a deal is going to be really, really great for the people watching this.
Yeah, big time. And so really kind of all of that transitioning into this, like the niching down, going into it full force, knowing it's not passive, taking your ego out, going into it, knowing that you're going to fail. That's really where you're going to get confident in closing that deal. So that all that stuff preparing you, all you need to know is 10% more than the person you're talking to about their niche, in the model of how you're going to generate leads for them, whether if you're just learning how to generate leads for them, or whether you're going in, you need to have that confidence. And when I just started doing sales myself, it was my confidence that walked them through the process of how this lead gen deal was going to work. And then it's literally why it's 100 times easier than closing an SEO client or an AdWords client, is because you're just literally holding their hand and taking them from point A of, okay, you have maybe A and B traffic channels, or you have A and B lead generation, whether they're doing Home Advisor or any other kind of lead service in that. And then you're just talking about the benefits of your service. So really closing them is just talking about, hey, why we are an exclusive to you, why we know your business, why we can understand, and then putting it in a nice pricing structure. So for us, it was simply like, okay, we attack Home Advisor and we're going after a lot of partners, clients that are unhappy with Home Advisor. So then we move in on that. And so finding everything about your niche is going to help you a lot. And then finding out a problem and what they're already having. And then the solution that you could come up with is that we provide exclusive leads. That's something Home Advisor is never going to change their model. So therefore we can capitalize on that and say, hey, we provide exclusive leads to you. We understand your niche and your business. And therefore this is the pricing structure that it is. And here it is in a 10 leads or 20 leads for the first week so we can build some trust. And I say all of this, and so this confidence comes in play of me, but it also goes to my sales guys. And so them knowing that we can able to generate leads within 72 hours builds some major, major confidence on their side, because then they could talk the big game. Hey, we can generate these leads for you very, very quickly. And that this is going to be a very quick process that we can go ahead and assign this agreement today or tomorrow, or I'm going to follow up with you and you can decide about it from here, no problem. But it's a very, very easier, quicker close. And it's usually a 24 to 48 to 72 hours close after just speaking with them on the first transaction, the majority of the time, not all the time, but majority of the time. That's kind of how the process works from there. And it's just getting them to agree for you to go ahead and start sending them the leads. And that way it's just, you start generating, and it's a paper performance. The minute you start generating those leads, they're ready to start building that trust. Because again, all this really is, it doesn't matter your pricing structure. It doesn't matter if you know their niche and all that stuff. This is just building a trust relationship between you and one other person. That's it. So if you're speaking with the decision maker.
Yeah, man, rock solid. Rock solid, dude. Appreciate that. Oh, this one's cool. Yeah, let people know, like, what do you mostly rely on for your lead gen? You know, you start off with paid traffic, you get SEO kicking right out of the gate, or what do you what's your strategy high level?
Yeah, so it's definitely paid traffic, and I come from a huge SEO background, but paid traffic is just hands down, it's the quickest way you're going to be able to generate leads. My paid traffic go-to source is AdWords. You can also, different niches, you could do Facebook advertising. It's just as quick. You can get up a landing page and an ads campaign very quickly. So it doesn't matter if you're in the medical niche, or if you're in certain niches that maybe Facebook advertising is a little bit quicker in your format, or you already have that skill. You can easily just start generating leads in that format, just as you could as AdWords. My go-to is AdWords, and then it is just the same as building trust on their side as it is my side. So I need to know that that partner is a good partner, can expand with our system, wants to, has their system in play to answer these phone calls, generate, they have to be making profit for me to want to go and invest money back into my lead generation websites, because I look at it as, yes, it is going to be a long-term asset, but I also need to find a long-term partner. And so that's where I become the most profitable, is when I can get a client on board that can handle, 40, 50 leads a week. And that way I know I can generate those leads. I'm very confident in that. But that paid traffic is just absolutely essential. So we start that for about the first 2 to 3 weeks, just AdWords. And then we'll turn on the Bing ads. I love Bing ads. It's one of my go-to. It's kind of like my little secret sauce. Nobody thinks it's like this, oh, Bing ads doesn't work, but Bing ads works incredibly well, depending on more so in some niches and then others. But I'm in probably about 3 to 4 niches, and it works incredibly well for all of them. And some of them, they're home services too, so it works just fine in those. And then we mix in a little bit of the GMBs and the long tail SEO traffic, and then we'll head down the main keywords and do local cities and ranking those different pages as well. So, but I prefer everything. That's what I love about lead generation, is you can combine all your skills. Even if you don't have those skills, go hire it out. But the beautiful thing is they just expect you to generate leads, and I'm the lead provider. Therefore, they expect, and I give them what they're expecting.
That's awesome, dude. I love that you mentioned Bing ads. We had people do always discount that. What you have to consider is like the platforms that are going to run Bing ads, like they do have a share of the search market. I mean, it's nothing like Google, but especially you get into medium size and larger size cities. I mean, there's just going to be volume there. There really is. We ran one in not too long ago, right in Los Angeles. Now Los Angeles is huge, but we generated shit, man, over 60 calls in a month, or some 60, 70 calls in a month. And now obviously, again, massive population we were targeting, but
Right.
if you scale that down, I mean, what's an extra 10 leads a month worth to you when you're just getting started, right? Or however many you're going to pull out of a campaign based on the population and the search volume on Bing in that specific area. We can spin sites out pretty quick. I love getting sites done, especially the little database tool we have in Jensen. I can just select a county or multiple counties, click a button, and it's just deploys all the pages. I love that. I guess it's quote unquote, you could use it as a mass page builder, but I don't do mass page builds, but I do like targeting on a county level. If whoever I'm working with is going to service, the area I'm targeting. A lot of those little municipalities, man, they rank quick. You're not going to get a ton of volume, but it adds up. Having them there adds up, especially in the infancy of a campaign. You can start turning some revenue around. And of course,
100%.
AdWords is always, AdWords is always great. And I know that's what Nate uses a lot of. I've seen Nate's campaigns churn out just really phenomenally priced leads within a very short period of them being alive. And I've shared a lot of the success we've had, speaking at different places and different videos, just the success we've had with AdWords campaigns, just churning leads. So yeah, between those three things, I mean, even if you don't have a huge AdWords budget, if you can spare, even throwing a Jensen site together, I mean, it's cheap.
Yeah.
And then the Bing ads are cheap. And
right.
If you can put 50 to 75% of your budget in AdWords, the other 25 to 50% in Bing and, spinning a site up and getting some content and whatnot. I mean, dude, you can really get some leads pretty rapidly. All right, next, lead generation sales. This is awesome. And again, I know this is such a massive part of your success. And you could probably talk about this for days, right? I mean, we could pull you off on a weekend and probably just mine you for information all weekend about this stuff and maybe not cover it all. But, if you want to share some of your experiences or whatnot, like, what was it? What made you say, hey, I need a sales team? And like, I've built sales teams a lot more times than not unsuccessfully. Like that is a challenge, man, especially I think your guys are 100% commission based. Yeah, if you could just give a couple pointers on that, I mean, we can all learn from that. That is a hell of a hard job.
Yeah, it is actually. It's quite a hard job when you kind of, again, for me, I didn't know if I was going to ever build a sales team or if I wanted to really, really scale that to a huge model. But I just found out that I'm good at sales. I learned my model, and therefore my confidence and sales skills have just straight up gone to my other sales guys. And that was the key in finding the sales teams, was just finding, I didn't need the overall technical sales guy or the overconfident sales guy. I needed a guy that was just simply loyal and that could understand this business model. And it's not really that technical either. And so I have 2 full-time sales guys and 1 part-time guy. And 2 of them were actually found on Upwork. And so I kind of go over that in the training, how to kind of go down that route and finding these different sales people out there. And there's tons and tons of salespeople. And so they're very similar. Like if you've ever heard Home Advisor or any one of these big lead generation companies, they don't have go-to high, these advanced sales guys. And you don't really need that advanced for this system. So you need people that are just loyal and that are hungry, and obviously commission based creates the most hunger in that sense. So when you get them to, put it in a position of where, okay, you close this person, it's usually majority the time within a 72-hour close when you're just prospecting all day long. And you're going to get your no's, you're going to get your yeses, and then you're going to get your sure, you can sign on, you get that quick close, and it creates some hunger in them sense. And then I've had sales guys that are hungry, and then boom, fall off, right? So you're going to get, not every sales guy is going to work. You're going to maybe go through a couple, and I've heard some horror stories that people have gone through, sales guys, over and over. I go through kind of my template system of how I'm hiring and doing the but that's a really key, is finding, really kind of digging into the actual person themselves. Okay, what's your lifestyle like? How hungry are you? What is your background in that sense? And I kind of go into the more of what it is about them and what their needs are. And then I let them ask them how hungry they are as far as what their expectations are in the first month, in the first 90 days, where do you expect to be? And then letting them know whether, if they're not, I don't need someone that knows exact advanced, lead generation skills, or even AdWords skills or SEO skills, because in this format, it's a very, very simple, straightforward, and it doesn't actually, two of my sales guys, they were not even advanced in the technologically route at all. And within about 60 days, with me working with them and then talking with and seeing kind of the information that I put out there and how it kind of works. Obviously, you have to understand this model to a certain degree. And this is for, if you're hiring a sales team, you should already be generating clients yourself, whether it be SEO clients or AdWords clients. You should already, it's pretty easy for you to jump over to this lead generation model and then kind of stick your sales guys on this part. But if you're transitioning from, you're closing maybe 5 to 6 partners or 10 partners, and that you want to hire a salesperson to come on your team, that really is just finding that person that is hungry and can be loyal, and then you just teaching their system of how you can have major benefit scaling with your system. And my very first sales guy, I remember, is over 2 years ago. He found me actually through one of my lead generation websites and tried to sell me on some mailers. He was doing direct mail. He worked for this company. I literally stole him away, sold him on coming to work for me in my lead generation model. And he liked how confident I was with my system, and that he kind of started out with that. And he's been with me for 2 years. And that's why we still we've gone down this failure mark of, okay, this didn't work with this lead generation model, or this didn't work with this niche, or this didn't work with this partner. And again, you're going to have those failures along the road. But when you find these loyal guys and these guys that are very hungry, and these guys make some good money, so they're really happy to kind of go that. And if you can get guys on Upwork or anybody, and they're used to, if they work for Home Advisor, if they work for these other companies, they're not making that much money. They're in the sales route. They're not these high 100K a year sales guys that you're going to come upon, and you don't really want that. You want someone that you can build with. In my system, I wanted someone that I could build with, that I can kind of mentor in that sense, and then just kind of mentor them in on how generation works. And then they get to know the niche a little bit more by talking to the clients, asking, doing a lot of qualification with our system was just our way of finding out that niche. When we started out a new niche, it was just go talk to these guys, be friendly. And that's the beautiful thing about lead generation, is you're not selling the monthly package. There's no money you need to pay right now. Therefore, boom, you'll get that talkative guy that will talk to you for 30, 40 minutes. Oh, I like what you're presenting. It may not work for me right now, but I'll give you all kinds of information. And again, you're just having a conversation with a regular person. And that's why I like to just find regular people who are good at sales, just like I am, so.
No, that makes a lot of sense, man. That was a really golden share, for sure. That was insane. Oh man, this is a good one. Like I said, this is one of the biggest things that hit me when I first started out. I was like, man, we need tools. You either need big teams or tools, or both, right? You either need teams with tools or tools when you're first starting out. Like it just, you really do. What tools and services have you used? And how did that change as you started getting into the, tens and tens of thousands of dollars per month?
Yeah, man. The tools, I have no idea where my business would be without tools, because I am a man with just a bunch of creative thoughts going through my head, and even just remembering to do stuff, and then having, kind of multiple businesses and multiple different niches and all that stuff. It's been a really, really long road. And when you discover these tools that just like simplify your business, create that scalability, Asana being one of them, that was just simple, basic task management system.
Mm-hmm.
You need a task management system for your business, and Asana was my go-to. There's a bunch of other ones, and everybody I've tried all of them, and there's not necessarily one maybe better over, maybe one be pricier, maybe not. I mean, you can go with Asana. It's free. It creates a simple task management system. My whole team uses it. It creates conversations, all that good stuff. So simple task management system, that's a beautiful thing. CRM system, my go-to is Pipedrive. There's a bunch of them. Again, it really doesn't matter which one you prefer or don't prefer, any of that stuff. You just need to be able to create a database, put all your prospects that you found in to one database, and then capture their information, and then put all the notes that you need to put in there too. And then really, obviously, you need to be able to have, when you start generating these leads and building your websites, and you have multiple partners and you have all of this stuff just scattered everywhere. And I used to have crazy Google Sheets. my sales guy would be connecting with my account manager guy, and we'd figure out how to do the billing and like doing all this stuff. And it was crazy, man. And then you guys came out with Jensen, man. And it was like just the savior of like, oh man, I could put all of this stuff together, and I could see all my leads, and then I could build these landing pages really quickly, and then I can have multiple different niches and multiple different partners, and we could do the whole recording of the call process. I mean, when you're starting off and you got 2 to 3 partners, it's not really that, big of a headache, right? You still want to have all your stuff in one place, but when you start scaling and you have multiple partners in different niches, and you've got this sales team that's got to connect with somebody, and they need to know, maybe what the calls come on, because they're talking to, the client manager that is talking to this crazy client about, maybe the leads that they've got. Like, we need a one-stop shop that they could go to. They could see all the leads. They could see everything that's there. They could see the landing page. Maybe the freaking client found the landing page and didn't like something. We need to be able to see all that one place, and that was Jensen, man. And that's been a real game changer. So those are like my 3 main go-to. There's a couple other ones that we use here and there. And then obviously, your lead generation, tools there, like the AdWords and the Bing and the management and all that side stuff. But just those 3 main tools have dramatically, I don't know. I know I wouldn't really, really scale as much as I had without those 3 ones. So.
Oh, that's awesome, man. People are going to start to think that this was a sponsored interview Webby chat by Jensen with as much of it. 1 second while we hear from our sponsors.
Yeah.
Jensen, the ultimate lead generation tool for your business. Jensen,
yeah, man. No, simply. I mean, that solved the problem, and
I appreciate it.
That problem, and that solved a big problem for me. And
it's awesome.
It's cool when you put that together. So.
No, I appreciate the kind words, man. We had a bit of a slowdown. We've been focusing on fixing bugs and miniature features, but we actually have a pretty aggressive rest of the year planned, with adding some of those additional call features people miss from CallRail. I had, no exaggeration, I had probably damn near 100 people over the course of Jensen's life that were like, dude, I just need this and I'm done with CallRail. I just need this and I'm done. So we're going to be hopefully wrapping that up this year. And, we definitely want to ramp it back up. We just had a bit of a low point in development. And, I like Jensen. I'm glad it helped you. Hopefully you love the new stuff coming at the end of the year. And, that's cool. It's always nice when Jensen gets a little shout. For your average lead gen client, what does a process for managing that relationship look like? I mean, are you doing calls? Are you doing reports? Are you just using Jensen, the ultimate reporting? No, I'm kidding. No. But what does your client relationship look like? And I know it's not, you're not supposed to call them clients. I know that was a big thing. A lot of lead gen guys fought 4 years ago. They're like, man, they're not really clients. But then, like you said earlier, you're still taking a business owner's money and delivering a product. They're going to have expectations. So, yeah, just clue us in a little bit. What does that look like for you, especially because, again, I know you're managing a lot of campaigns and you're rock star level, man. So clue us in. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, that was a big one. That was a big learning curve. A lot of failures through that one. Simply just that no matter what, I don't really care if you call it a client or a partner. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm dealing with a business owner, and that's all I really care about. And we have a transaction between I'm a lead provider or I call myself a partner program for them, or a lead partner program, whatever you want to call it, because I do feel like it is a client partner model. No matter what, I'm kind of creating that relationship just to kind of get that out of the way. So with that, it was knowing that you are dealing with a human being, you're dealing with a business owner, and these people have trust issues. You are still kind of the web guy to them, or the marketing guy, and they kind of look at that in that format. No matter if you're just dealing with it and you're doing a pay-per lead model or rank and rent model, you know, an SEO guy or an AdWords guy, you're still kind of the web guy to them. Depending on the niche, you're going to get business owners that are pretty technical savvy. A couple of my niches, they're not technical savvy at all. So I'm literally just the web guy, and we're the lead guys that provide them leads, right? I'm cool with that. So with knowing that in mind, knowing your niche is going to be really key to this, because some of your niches, you're going to have to do a lot of following up, a lot of hand holding. Other niches, they don't want to be bothered. They have their business, they have their format. They already know kind of how this works, and that you don't need to do as much hand holding. We got one niche where we have to follow up about 5 times within the first week of them getting their first 10 leads. And then after that, it's a follow-up process of at least once to twice a week within the first 30 days. So that first month is just absolutely necessary. There's a lot of hand holding in there. There's, hey, how's it going on your side? How are you liking our leads on that? So that first week is just a trial period. There's a major trust building process with this, and this is where I see a lot of miss or failures on that part, and me included. Having all that misinformation out of there and trying all those things, I found out that what works really, really well is obviously your price and your trust need to be on kind of point with that. But once you get past that stage, it's pretty much like, hey, here's how our process works. So qualifying them is a huge process, and you're going to kind of get into that. But qualifying them is going to help you dramatically, knowing how much kind of hand-holding that you have to do with your weekly calls and your monthly reports. And Jensen obviously makes that easier in delivering all those reports and saying, hey, here's your calls, here's your formats. But it's a pretty simple process where we just kind of go in, we deliver those 10 leads or those 20 leads, depending on the niche, for the first week. And so then we go ahead and give those leads. Once they're ready to sign on with that process, we just move forward, and we kind of handhold that on 1 to 2 times a week. And it's just seeing how things are going. How's this working for you? Whether if they have already been with Home Advisor. So every single client is pretty different. So some of them may already have quite a few leads coming in from Home Advisor or through different traffic channels. So identifying those, because that is a problem. Whether if you start generating leads on your route, this is really one problem that we found into, was that guys were already getting leads, and that they didn't prioritize our new lead system, and therefore said, no, this is not going to work out for us, because they had prioritized something that had already been working for them. Even though that they identified Home Advisor wasn't working and they didn't per se like it, they still simply like, you're the new guy. If your system doesn't start making me money, it's not going to be great. You know what I'm saying? So setting that expectation right from the start, and this is super, super heavy stuff, is just like, knowing your qualification process, really setting those expectations is going to make this structure really damn easy, and saying, hey, this is just our follow-up call. We already talked about this. This is the follow-up call that we would told you that we were going to call you. And so there is no like, all of a sudden you're calling me. What the hell are you calling me about? What it is? No, we simply lay out this format, and I put this in the course too, are simply like, this is the call that you're going to get. This is the actual structure that we're going to start for you. And then just laying out that entire plan. This is our success plan for you guys to become successful. So we tell them, hey, if you're not profitable, we're not profitable. This is our success plan that we have with other partners that we already have on board. This is the partner. This is when you literally tell them that this is a success plan that we have already set in play. Here it is, and we're going to follow this guideline. Their expectations are set. They know to pick up the call. They know not to, put it all on them and say, okay, well, this isn't going to work for us. We didn't know or expect to get only calls or only emails or, all of these expectations that come in a part. This is really the management part is kind of more just like, you're dealing with a human, that they're going to have minds, and the less communication that you have, the more lack of, or failures or problems that can come up in these lack of management. So setting those expectations from the start, delivering those weekly calls. We do that on a weekly basis every single Monday. We send all of the calls that we have given them, and then just going over those reports. This is the calls that you got, and my sales guys kind of go through that process. This is the calls you got. Everything looks great. Let's move forward with that.
Yeah, dude, that's incredible. That is freaking solid, man. It's amazing when you talk to people that actually do this stuff at a decent scale, and just some of the stuff you can pick up on, even if you're doing it at scale, just to hear other people's input. And it's like, oh, wow, that's I'm doing this effectively, but like I could improve by, testing this out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's super valuable, man. I love it, because I know a lot of our positioning for this series was a lot of the beginner guys, right? People that not necessarily beginners at marketing, but maybe they didn't really submerge themselves in PPL yet. Maybe they're just thinking about it, or they build a site and it generates a couple leads, but it's off to the side. You know how it is, man, trying to diversify and not putting all your effort into something. So, it's really cool, because I love when something, we're trying to help people that are on the edge, teeter-tottering, like, yeah, this could be cool. I just want to hear some insight from some people that are really rocking it. Mm-hmm. And then another guy who's like, oh, well, hey, I love lead gen. I'm rocking the hell out of lead gen. But I'm, of course, going to listen to other lead gen guys because it's my thing. It's my craft. And then you pick a couple of nuggets out, and it's like, wow, that's great. And I love that. And it's where you can really pick apart. To someone just starting, it's all info, right? Even, it's just all good info. But to someone that actually does it, it's like, oh, man, I can tell this guy actually tackled obstacles on his way to scale and overcame them. You can tell, man. It bleeds through when someone that really knows what they're talking about discusses something. And it's a breath of fresh air. I always try to surround myself with people like you in the industry, people that are just out there going and getting it. You know what I mean?
And I think you bring up a real good point with that, as far as a lot of guys that were doing, if you're doing your AdWords, your SEO, that was a huge myth with that, is that the weekly reporting is that's where it really differents. You just kind of having this SEO client or this AdWords client, and you're kind of just going in hoping that it's passive and you're just trying to scale with this. Really, when you identify those that you're dealing with a lead generation, you're dealing with a lead, you're solving their problem, but you created a new problem, and that you need to solve this problem by just building trust and building that. And that's where you're going to really have an easier time, just knowing that you need to focus on the client. And that's where it doesn't get as passive, but you can outsource that stuff for sure. So
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just to wrap up, I needed a slide for wrapping up, just to say we're wrapping up. I appreciate you coming on and talking to my audience. I know you're going to use this for your followers as well. I see you posting around, man. A lot of people are getting a lot of nuggets just out of your posts. It's awesome. I love to see that. And we talked about you and Nate's course coming up. It's hard hitting. Guys, you definitely want to at least follow these guys to check the launch out where you get more details, because it's hard hitting. I mean, I'm not gonna BS you here. Like, I looked through it and was like, shit, this is incredible. And like, I know from talking to you for a long time and how you refine the sales piece, not to take away from your fulfillment at all, but I was just amazed. I'm like, damn, this guy has a really solid sales infrastructure. And then just working with Nate. I mean, I've been lucky enough to work with Nate for years now on projects. And, like I said, I've benefited from the campaigns he set up. He's helped me set up better AdWords campaigns. Like, the guy's a rock star. And I mean, we've consistently set up campaigns that generated leads. If we were selling them for $25 a lead, we'd be at $9 to $11 a lead on AdWords. We were selling them for 70 to 100 a lead, we'd be generating between 35 and 50 a lead consistently. I mean, the guy's really good at what he does. And I know, so again, I'm spoiled because you guys are my friends, and Nate even more. We have other projects. So I talk to Nate every day. Between text and phone, we probably spend an hour to 90 minutes a day just in communication. That's actually something I shouldn't have shared. That's like stuff. That's like, it's starting to get like bromance stuff. But no, we just have a lot of projects, and he explained to me a lot of the stuff he's going over, and I got to take a peek, and it's like, damn, this is the ultimate starter pack. I don't even know if you have anything on that or if you plan to right now. But with your sales and his rapid lead gen, if that was all this course contained, that's your ticket to literally conquering the 10K a month mark really quick, like really fast. And it's beautiful. So, again, I thank you for coming on. We're going to have another video. We're going to have 2 more videos. We're going to cover some more in-depth stuff. I'm going to contribute a little more in the next videos instead of just being an MC, but again, a lot of times it was tough to add anything to it because, I mean, I think we're on the same page with a lot of the stuff you're doing, and like, it's worked well for you. It's worked for me. I can't add to something that's really well done, man. I think you killed it. Again, thanks for coming on. Anything else before we wrap up? Anything you want to leave embedded in people's brains that spent the time with us today?
Yeah. So, I mean, we did definitely go over some good sales tactics. Obviously, the course covers that, and we'll cover that in the next videos as well. But like you said, like, Nate has been a big asset into this course as well. And so I go over heavy the sales model and bringing on the sales teams and doing, bringing on the partners. But the other side of it is the lead fulfillment. And me and Nate have been friends for a while too, and we've shared a lot of cool tactics of the fulfillment side, and just like you said, how to really change your game on your profit margins with the certain tactics you could do with AdWords or SEO or the lead generation pages or any of that stuff. So that is the other side of this puzzle is the lead fulfillment. So this is pretty much the full package that you'll need of bringing on those partners and delivering those leads quickly to get to that 10K mark. It's easier for you to focus on. So
yeah, absolutely, man. Beautiful. Thanks again for coming on, David. Thanks again for everyone that checked us out. Stay tuned for the second video coming in the series, and we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Take care.